Hi, Doug here. I did a short instructional video for seniors about how to apply for EBT or SNAP as the program is called. You might want to check that video out at the link below. It will step you through the process, but it is kind of complex, and there are some organizations here in Hawaii that will help you apply for EBT. One of them is Catholic Charities. We have Peter Reyes, Program Director for Catholic Charities, here to explain how they can help seniors apply and describe a little bit about the other programs they have for seniors. But first, what is Catholic Charities? Peter?
Mahalo, Doug, for first of all having me on your show. Catholic Charities Hawaii has been around for a long time, more than 75 years already. It is a social service agency. A lot of our services are geared towards those who are in need, who are in the vulnerable kind of type of populations. We've been specifically focus where I work at, I specifically focus on the seniors, normally those who are 60 or older. There may be times, depending on the service that we provide, that the age requirement may go down a little bit, okay, probably 55 or so. But we are all about helping those who are in need to make sure that, everybody in our population, in our community is being taken care of. And that's the mission that we have. Um, the word Catholic in our name is there because we are associated with the Catholic Church. But I do want to make it very clear that we serve anybody, not just Catholics. And so that's very important. And when we get out in the community and we do explain who we are, that's it. Charities, a lot of people look at it in maybe perhaps a negative way, but charities really stems from the word love. And so we are here and we provide services in a loving and respectable way to those who need it. And that's how we come from that name.
Okay, now I saw that you have a SNAP um, help for SNAP benefits. Tell me if I wanted to apply, what would I do?
We do have a project or a program that we call the Benefits Enrollment Center. And under this BEC program, we actually assist seniors to help them apply for various kinds of benefits or entitlements, including the SNAP benefit. And so uh, that's what we do. And we provide the service in assisting those who need assistance applying for these various benefits. The application process sometimes gets a little bit more complex. And so we're here to do that. And we provide that service at no cost to the person who needs the assistance.
That's an important part of the deal. So what I would do is I would call a phone number or go on the web, or how would I start that out?
Right, that's a good question. Catholic Charities Hawaii is a very large organization with over 300 people, and then there's also various departments. But we do have a community senior services intake helpline or senior helpline, and the number is 808 five
Eight
two seven
five two
four
seven.
seven seven seven. Again, 808 527 4777. And all the person needs to do is call the number and ask for the Benefits Enrollment Center, and they will be linked to us that way. And initially, the process is about collecting the person's information, who they are, where they live, and what are the needs, so that we can do a assessment of what kind of services we can provide to help the individual.
So you would walk people through the SNAP process. Like I know when I did it, I just went to the site, government site, DHS site, and did it myself. And they ask about your household, how large it is, how old you are, your address, your income, and your expenses, rent, electricity, and that sort of thing. So you walk people through this or help gather the actual documents or
Yes, yes, it is the application process. Most people, I shouldn't say most, but some people like you, Doug, you can understand it. You can go in, you're computer savvy, you can get on the network and do it. But most of the people that we provide assistance to are those who probably don't have any access to computer or just have, they're not computer literate. So what we do is we basically handhold them through the process. We
I
get all
see.
the information that they need, including their supporting documents. I just want to make sure that it is very clear that we don't make the decisions on whether a person gets SNAP or not. We just are here to assist them in filling out the application and then giving them the option. Do they want to turn in the application in person at the Department of Human Services,
Right.
or do they want us to assist in sending it online or completing the application online or faxing it? And those are the kinds of things that we do. And I find that the challenge for the SNAP application for most of our clients is the fact that they have to submit a copy of the required documentation documentation that shows their ID,
Right.
documentation that shows their income, their expenses, all of that has to be gathered. And so we assist in collecting that. We kind of help the person collect all of those. We scan them or make copies of it so
Okay.
that we can attach it to the computer to the application when we submit it. And so it depends on the individual. I've actually had uh, callers that call me and or some of my workers, and we just go over the phone all the information that they need. Then they would just submit they'll actually bring in their supporting documents and sign the application, and we'll submit that online, and it's done, and we can do it in the same day.
Wow.
Sometimes people require a little bit more time to kind of collect all of that information.
Right.
I find that some of the most common kinds of documents that they need that they have hard time finding is the source of income or the amount of income,
Yeah.
as well as maybe if they have a rental agreement, they can't find where the rental agreement is.
Right. Right.
So we are here to kind of help them, suggest to them, because sometimes even if a person does not have a rental agreement, for example, they may have in their financial records that shows that
Yeah.
they pay this amount of rent. And
Right.
so that should be sufficient enough to kind of explain their expenses as well. We also do follow up afterwards because eventually, once the application is submitted, they will hear from the Department of
Yep.
Human Services. They're going to have to go through an interview. So we kind of explain that process. And then we follow up a few times later, maybe a few weeks later, just to check on them to see whether what's the status of their
Right.
application. And we do that because if they're for some reason denied, and because uh, it may be due to them missing some of the required documentations or they missed their interview
Right.
appointment. We can try to help them to kind of get all of that in, arrange for a new appointment time and so forth so that they can continue on and then get awarded.
Right.
Now, when we follow up with them and they're just found ineligible for some reason, then the process stops there. But once we are done with them and they've been awarded the SNAP benefit, then we encourage people to seek us out in the following year because you're going to have to do the SNAP reapplication every year. And
Aha.
so that's how we try to make that relationship and make sure that they come back to us for assistance if needed.
Right. Now, I used to work for Hawaii Meals on Wheels, and a lot of the services, a lot of the time was initiated by not so much the client, but sometimes a relative, a younger relative, a son or daughter, or sometimes just a neighbor.
Right.
Is this something like a neighbor can get help, could call you first, and how does that
Yes,
work?
those are common calls that we get. People from, just neighbors caring for their neighbor, or even relatives or children who are living on the mainland, for example. They
Yep.
would be calling us, trying to seek assistance, and we will give them the guidance. And of course, ultimately, we will require that the person who's seeking the assistance is agreeable to the assistance. So what I would
Right.
normally recommend is, neighbor. Thank you for calling us, but have you spoken to the person yet?
Yeah.
We can help, but we need their permission to be able to help them.
Right, right. A lot of times a neighbor will get the info and write the information down and say, "Oh, uncle, you should call these guys," and help starts that way too. So that's
And that's
good
what
to
we
know.
do. So,
Yeah,
when these callers, when they call us, we record them on our database. So, and the person that they're calling for, if they want to disclose that information, so that when the person actually calls,
you
we've got
have
some
that.
background information already, who made the referral
Right.
and what the need is, and then we just go from there.
That's terrific. Now, you guys, Catholic Charities does a lot of stuff I notice, and I go, get help, and I go to senior service. There's all kinds of stuff. What else might be helpful for a senior calling in for initially for SNAP or EBT? What other kinds of programs do you have?
Well, one of the things that we have, or the kinds of services that we provide, is the Lanakila Senior Center, which is, I think, the largest one on the island of Oahu. As I was telling you earlier, I'm a very strong advocate for and supporter of senior centers because it really provides a place where our kupuna can come together to engage another just under the umbrella of the Benefits Enrollment Center. We assist people in applying for SSI. We assist people in applying for uh, farmers market coupons, for example, all kinds of different benefits, prescription drugs, discount programs, those sort of things. But aside from the Benefits Enrollment Center, we have our housing assistance program, where we help seniors look for housing, senior housing in particular. We also have our transportation services program where we provide transportation similar to Handivan, where we take most of the senior riders, they have to register first, but once they're registered, we take them to doctor appointments, grocery shopping, all the kinds of places that they need to go to
Right.
in order for them to maintain their independent living is what we provide. And
I
so
see. So
that is one of
if you go through this enrollment, benefits enrollment center, will it help? I mean, it helps categorize the person's needs also. They don't have to apply separately for these transportation or housing or
They're
how
going to
does
have
that?
to apply separately, but the good deal about coming to our senior services helpline, for example, or even coming into our office, is that it's more like a one-stop deal where we kind of do a complete assessment of the person, see what their needs are. So if they're coming in for SNAP, we'll say, "How are you doing on transportation? How are you doing in all these other places?" And then we'll make the referrals internally to the various programs that they have, and then they're going to have to register for those programs. But
I see.
we already have some of the basic demographics that we can share with the other programs. Now,
Right.
when it comes to transportation, we this is a service that we contract with the City and County of Honolulu's Elderly Affairs Division. And so
Okay.
they're that entity is the one that's responsible for registering folks, and then they authorize it and send us the authorization.
I
And so
see.
what we normally do is, okay, we explain the transportation program, make sure that they understand it and it's something that they want or need.
Right.
And then we'll refer them to the Elderly Affairs Division. And their helpline is 808-768-7700.
Seven
808-768-7700.
zero
So
zero.
people needing transportation, they don't really have to come to us. They can go directly to Elderly Affairs Division. But the reason why I encourage people to call our senior helpline is we're not just looking for one particular type of service. We're doing a holistic kind of assessment of the person to see what kinds of needs they have, and then channel them to the appropriate kinds of services, whether we provide it or others within our community. And so
Right.
part of our intake line, our helpline, is we kind of built over the years our knowledge of the different kinds of resources that are out there as well. So when you call us, you're not just getting something that we provide, you're getting our expertise on what's available in the community and sharing that with the caller.
I see. That's good. Now, here's a hard question. If people call your phone number, how likely are they to get an actual person answering?
That's a fair question.
Yeah,
We from time because it depends on how many staff we have. So
right.
we actually use a lot of volunteers as well as college students who are doing their practicum with us. So the higher the number of people answering the calls, of course, you're probably going to get a live person. But most of the time, you probably a caller would get our mailbox message, and they'll just have to leave a number, and we'll get back to them. Now, it may not be the same day, but
Yeah.
in the next day or so, we will get back to the caller.
Anything else you'd like to add about what you do or what you need? You said volunteers. Do you need volunteers?
Oh, we're always seeking volunteers. We do have volunteer services that we provide. We have a Transportation Friends for Kapuna, where it's a volunteer-based transportation system where we recruit volunteers and train them to be able to use their own vehicles to transport our clients to wherever they need to go. And I think that really works because the TFK, or the Transportation Friends for Kapuna, is really a program designed for the more frail seniors who need one-on-one assistance. And so that's where you get that from. So if anybody that's listening and maybe have some time on their hands and want to be able to give back to the community, this is a great opportunity to do so. We also have our phone a friend project where homebound folks they're isolated and they need someone from the outside world to contact. So we train volunteers to call these folks up and on a regular basis just to talk story, and then along the lines, if there's any kinds of need that arises, that they'll be able to then refer those kinds of needs to us for further assistance. We also have our memory mentor program where people who are struggling with memory issues, we do have volunteers who would come in person to visit the person on a regular basis, just to touch bases with them and so forth. Again, these are folks who are living with some difficulty, especially when it has to do with early stages of dementia or so forth. And so they may be eligible for that. Now, again, if your listeners are volunteers, they can be a volunteer phone call person, they can be a volunteer memory mentor person, or they can just simply be a van driver or escort to take folks where they need to go.
Wow, actually, I might be interested in that. That's, and I know, the when I was at Hawaii Meals on Wheels, we depended so much on volunteers. Basically, it's a volunteer organization. And I notice you also have like a lot of nonprofit organizations, a little button that says donate. You'd like donations also, right?
Of course, it's that's the beauty about donation is really based on the person's willingness to provide and their ability to provide, especially in times like this where we're probably gearing up with more cuts in more of the benefits of government programs. And so we need those kinds of dollars to help us to stay afloat and to operate and really serve those who are in need. And we're not just talking about dollar donations, we're talking about talent and time donations. We're looking for volunteers to provide what they can, and we rely on that. I think if I look back in the past few years, the way Catholic Charities Hawaii has been able to really stay afloat is to really look at these kinds of resources, look at other grant opportunities. So if some of your viewers maybe are folks who are enablers from funding streams and whatever,
Right.
this is a time where we really need to start looking at what else is out there.
Right, right. So true. Well, thank you much. Any parting words?
Well, it's with everything else that's going on from the federal level, the effects of the changes is coming. We don't know exactly when yet, but I do know that, in the long run, there's going to be a lot of changes on how services are being provided, eligibility stuff. And so those are the kinds of things that a person should be considering. Here at Catholic Charities Hawaii, that's what we do is we kind of come together and have that discussion on, what are the probabilities of certain things happening? What can we do to stay active and making sure that we provide the services that are needed for especially those who are vulnerable and who are really in need. And that's what we do.
Right, right. Okay. So, hey, thanks much. I really appreciate your time and effort on this. Really do.